in a development phase in Statistics Denmark, but we're also close to landing some agreements there. We talk a lot, all of us, to reduce the burden for companies, and this is one of the ways where we can reduce the burden. And we also think we can provide us with more data, so we can work with them. We will have more data about each enterprise, and so it's up to us to find out how documentation of the data, of course, yes. In Denmark, there has been many projects that have been launched, and some overlap, and it is in the government of the public sector in Denmark, and also together with Norway and Sweden. And we are participating in many of them, and to some extent, I think that the burden are very big to Statistics Denmark instead of the results of it. But in the end, I think it will be a good goal. We have a motivation. There is a political will to align legislation, and from the politicians, also very important to reduce the burden for companies. Because of our reduction in funding, we have all the time focused on work smarter. In our reporting committee, companies and organizations are pushing us to reduce the burden and not ask for something they have given to another one. We are also involved because we want to have faster data, and also data from multiple companies. We expect a result where we will have reduced workload, we will saving money in the public sector and also in Statistics Denmark as a part of that, and we also think we will have improved quality. Oh, I should do something. So. I must also say that I am working with the business register a lot, and in my division we have the data collection also, so it's a presentation I have borrowed mostly, and so I have done something with it also. So, but here we see in the blue box that we have digitalized our data collection. It's one-to-one. It's still stovepipe, as we also mentioned before. So there is no change in our production line. There are some few exceptions, but normally it's one-to-one. The production systems are adapted, but we have got new tools for data collection, legalizations on new methods. And in the green box, where we work together in the public sector, but also together with the private sector, we started. The way ahead is to change our data collection from small samples to larger volumes of data from a few suppliers. Can we find relevant data? We will use it all. We would like to have data by automation, and we think that if we can go in and get voluntary win-win partnerships versus slow-paced legislation, even in Denmark, they sometimes are fast, so we find problems there. We work for solutions with flexibility and adaptability, and we have a fast-paced technological development and new sources. And we also think it's okay to fail sometimes, so we just try to do things. And of course, as also mentioned before, we have some problems, some issues about documentation of our data. It's important. But digitalization means, to a certain extent, standardization, and digitalization means fewer providers. Trading is done digitally, whether it's big or small companies. We have apps. The development is also pushing to digitalization and standardization in the part of development. And today, for the most of the small and medium enterprises, all bookkeeping and accounting is stored digitally and in the cloud with the option to be shared. So maybe we should go that way. They therefore want us to take the data, and they are willing to give us access to where we can retrieve our data ourselves instead of sending them questions. In Denmark, you can create a company in 5 minutes. It's very easy to start a company, and you just do it on the internet. And so you are born digitally, and so you also want to run your company in a digital world. And you don't want to have too many administrative burden. You will do your business. So the enterprise will be able to handle their own accounting if they appreciated the rules and the requirements that exist. And many enterprises do not get familiar with the rules they need to be inside in, as we also heard before today. If you have a company and you create it in UK instead of Germany, so maybe it was being closed because you didn't know the rules. And it's the same also in Denmark, even they are part of the Danish society, they not always know all the rules. So things are online. The Internet of Things is a system of communication, data processors, communicating data processors, mechanical and digital machines, objects or humans provided with unique identifiers, and the ability to transmit data with a network with no need for human-to-human or human-to-computer interaction. We have looked into examples of digital accounting to a few cases, both with the companies that have the account system, but also with the enterprises. We have been spoken to a few enterprises, and they say, okay, if you can get the data from our account system in the cloud, so just go for it. We are positive, but it's only 2 or 3 companies that have said yes. So we don't know yet. How is our data collection? 10 years ago, it was important to make digital questionnaires or app questionnaires, but we still need the companies to go in and fill it out. So now the next steps is to go up on the automation, and it will be different from statistics to statistics, but we can get some help to get more data and ask fewer questions, and maybe also ask the companies to validate what we know from other sources. If we look where Statistics Denmark are compared to the automatization degree, then it's often on the baseline at 0. But we have current projects, which we talk about bed nights in hotels and camping sites. So we're now at level 3, where we have a system where we have adapted, and we can transfer the data to our to Statistics Denmark. And the data is approved by the enterprise. If we go to the account statistics, it's very big statistics. We are on level 4, where we have an automatic report for most of the companies. And it just comes to us, and we still need some clarification from the companies, but instead of 120 questions, we only still them between 10 and 30 questions. So it's much easier for the companies. And so we have library statistics. I will go back to that, but it's a machine-to-machine agreement. So we have been out and talked to some accounting systems about to take the data from them. Also data on goods and vehicle, data on farming, where we take the GPS data and data about when they are driving around on the ground, and so we have a lot of data also there, and they are collected by an organization for the farmers in Denmark. So we will have them from their cloud. So the farmers give it to the organization, and so we get it from them. So. And so the time is going. Yes, we are doing now a very active search for potential partners, so using selected statistics or data, and we also discuss how we can ensure the data is consistent once users can set up interfaces on their own. We also have a legal problem: who owns the data? We are allowed to get the data from a third part. And what are we going from a sample to a complete census? Should we also ask more or fewer companies about this data? And do the central operators want to enter into an agreement with Statistics Denmark? It's also an issue. And so there's, of course, a consequence of automation. There is risk. It's not us that ask the companies, so the raw data can be less accurate. But we also see when we confront the big companies, they don't understand what we are asking them for, so it cannot be so more bad about that. But we need, of course, to know what they are giving us of data. I just need to go a little bit fast. Yes, we try to do a lot of things just now. We got a lot of data from external sources, and I think we will have some agreements in the end of this year, and also next year we will have more data, and we will try to take some of this data into productions. And so I just will say we have here the level 5, where we have statistics on from the libraries, where if I go to the library, I rent a book, I go in with my personal ID, and so I have a book. And so it goes from Library 4 to the common library system, and so it goes to Statistics Denmark, and so we give some data back also to Library 4 that they have 7 customers and they have done that with the books. So we have here what? Yeah.
Automated system.
Yes, thank you. And we have now done these automatic systems in different ways, but on 5 topics. And we can now do it on 4 meetings with the external user, where we have our presentations and we talk about what they want to have and what we can do, which registers can we use, and so on. And so we, of course, with a lot of telephone meetings also together, but we can have some productions in a final agreement in several months. So it's easy. And so it was my time. Thank you for now. And think about your questions. I hope I can answer some of them.
Exactly 15 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that. Steen, as I said, you can have a seat here, yes, because we're going to have the questions later on. So if you have questions for Steen, please keep them in mind or write them down, and then we'll take the general questions at the end. While Monica's getting ready, I just want to mention that Statistics Denmark is currently one of the co-chairs of this UN Global Working Group on Big Data. So I was happy to see that in their office they're actually really working on it. I never hear Niels about this too much. But, so I think there are a number of questions. Keep them in mind, and we'll get to it. But now I will give the next presentation to what is happening in Italy on the new data sources in the SBR production process. Monica Consalvi from Istat, please.
Thank you.
15 minutes.
I'll try. So I will present this new project in Istat, and I will summarize some first evaluations on the feasibility of using big data in the SBR production process. And to go on, okay. So the use of big data has been part of Istat's strategy in the last 5 years. Istat has launched several projects like this on mobile tracking data to estimate flows of population, and that is mobility for work and study, the use of Google Trends or scanner data. And some of them results also in the dissemination of experimental statistics. I put here the link when we obtain a subset of the estimates of the ICT surveys, in particular for e-commerce facilities and job vacancies. Big data, of course, requires big resources, and so Istat started also to implement new infrastructure and software. We are now studying, our IT staff is studying the possible use of Cloudera, and also to involve university and research center. We participate, Istat participate to the 3SNet on big data. We participate as this group, the teamwork of this project. We participate in the third one that will start next year, and in particular in the WPC implementation of enterprise characteristics. Because we always have in mind that the statistician working in a National Statistical Institute should be a researcher, but at the same time also a producer, and should always guarantee the quality of official statistics. So after a long, I can say, methodological experience, we also want to think about the implementation. And in the business register section, we started in the last part of 2017 a preliminary analysis. We studied the feasibility of the acquisition and the possible use of web data for our SBR. And so we perform this mapping activity. There is no time to go in deep detail, but it was above all a feasibility study with a strong thematic significance. That is to say, we as a business register staff began to study the website structure and trying to find some, we focus on informative blocks that could be contained in a website to find out the economic phenomena, and also counting the keywords that could have different meaning in different parts of the website. And thanks to this positive feasibility study, this first experiment, this mapping activity, with these results obtained, we also could start a big project with methodological expert and IT expert, and we could also take advantage of this opening of the lab-in, that is to say a laboratory for innovation that Istat inaugurated this March 2018 for strategic projects, but also to strengthen its commitment to research. And for our project, this laboratory represents a good occasion, an opportunity to have a dedicated physical and also technological space, because we have available useful infrastructure and also all the software we needed for our project. This is the aim of the project. To combine, to integrate the structural business data with the unstructured data coming from the web. And we can say that it is a two-way information flows to and from the register, because the business register acquires the new and earlier information from the web and could enlarge its content. At the same time, the business register integrates this data in giving them a structure because they benefit from the classification included in the business register. And so the link with the business register gives this big data a name, a size dimension, a collocation in the territory, and we can say it is the support platform of this data. So we could start this experiment with the aim of create this prototype. We create this prototype for a sample data, and we will enlarge in the future for all the business register that contains a set of enterprise level information linked to the business register. Of course, this could increase the quality of information in the business register to complete missing information and check the available variables, or to expand the informative content because we could add new information to cover additional variables. And also, well, this third target is for the future. We have not succeeded now in thinking about the new business taxonomy. That is to say, we think that the official classification are now too old, perhaps, to describe new and emerging activities. And so, looking at the characteristics contained in the website, we can also identify new emerging population of enterprises. Think about, for example, to the Industry 4.0. And, well, the following point here, the main steps of the first experimentation could be considered as separated steps only by a theoretical point of view, that is to say, not by execution. They are, some of them are performed in the same, at the same time and or in different order. But we can have this logical distinction of three main steps. First of all, we have to acquire the list of web address. We have some of them are available from administrative sources, but in our business register, we have only 5% of the enterprises that are covered. We could extract this list from thematic directory sites, the so-called web portals, where, for example, the exhibition is. So we try to extract this new list, and from using, in case of non-available, of course, URLs, we use a procedure that is called URL retrieval techniques. Okay, it is in some simple words, we perform batch queries on the search engines like Google, Bing, or other. I don't know exactly which is the search engine that we use in this case, by means of the enterprise identification characteristics. So we reply the same behavior of a human person that search a URL in the website. And for each of the links that results in the results of the query, to each one, the software gives the probability of correctness and using this machine learning approach. Then this other phase that is very important for us, not for the methodological persons, but for us in the business register, the identification of the enterprises. Because in whatever way the web address has been found, it is crucial for us that we could confirm the exact correspondence between the data that we extracted from the web and the enterprise in the business register. And we use some techniques like the comparison with the identification variable contained in the business register, the address, the company name, the tax code, using some string similarity metrics and pattern matching. And then the extraction of the data acquisition with different techniques, web scraping from the web, text mining. This is a branch of the data mining. We use the natural language processing. It is a technique that identifies some part of the language to extract structured information. And then machine learning for the automatic detection of characteristics, but perhaps it's too much to go in detail. In the experimentation, we considered only a subset of our business register, the active enterprises having legal form of corporation and partnership, and to improve precision, we extract a stratified sample by economic activity and by size. This was a result of the analysis we spoke about before, because we noticed that some difference in the structure and contents of those sites depends also on the size of the enterprises, the complexity of the organization of the enterprises, and on the economic activity. And for the sites, after a few tests to find a good partitioning in the least number of homogeneous strata, we choose this threshold in this figure. And this is the scheme of the flows of the processes, just to say that the next step is for us the formalization of this scheme for each extracted variable, so with the description of all the steps in sequence, and also the generalization of all the procedures, of course, for all the business register and not only for the sample. Some preliminary results. Here on the left is the sample according to the approach used for identifying the URL, the ones derived from the administrative sources, or from search engine, or from web portal, and example of some information that we extracted. For example, 100,000 company names we acquired, and so on. But not only the value of the character has been acquired. For example, for the addresses, street addresses have been identified and allocated between administrative headquarters or other local units. Email addresses are distinguished into email addresses and certified mail addresses, and also the same for phone numbers. As regards the presence on social media, more than 45% of the enterprises of the sample use these new tools. For us, this is very important because we get a new channel to get information. And this is the distribution of social media usage. We also were able to get and store the link. As regards online job facilities, this is an example of the automatic detection of this character using a machine learning approach. We have a set of websites where we test, when in this subset we know exactly with certainty the presence or the absence of these characteristics. We use the answer of the ICT surveys. And with this training set, the machine is ready to predict the same values for sites that has the same characteristics. We can so, in a simple way, this is the behavior. So what we have learned. Well, without any doubt, big data presents some risks. Some of them are evident because we have to manage technical limits. Traditional systems of data collection and data processing are no longer adequate. What is important for us are the statistical problems, the difficulty of certifying the quality of information and the data reliability, how to attribute information with certainty to an SBR enterprise, and how to classify with certainty the universe to which this set of data that we extracted from the web belongs. Of course, despite risk, there are also obvious benefits. We could enlarge our production with new information. Both the timeliness of our products and the relevance could increase, and this is possible also at a lower cost than enlarging the existing data. And we can say that the web is an independent source of data, while we think that all the other sources, administrative and statistical ones, are in some way linked to each other. That is to say, they are influencing each other. We think that what an enterprise declares to one source perhaps is the same to what he declares to another administrative source. The picture provided by the big data may be a representation closer to reality. This is how the enterprise sees itself and how want to present itself to the outside. New opportunities involve new challenges. Well, some issues like the updating and the maintaining strategies are questions that still need a proper answer, like the matter on when and how it would be necessary to repeat the extraction of the same data from the web. Perhaps a cyclic monitoring could be perhaps too expensive, but not. We are not. We are aware, but we don't know. We do not know now. We do not know now also when differences can be considered significant as true changes. And also, this is crucial perhaps for our business register, how to get the date in which this change takes place. That is crucial when we store the metadata in our register. And the main challenge is to move from experimentation to production and to have finally a new source in our process of business register next to the administrative sources and the other statistical sources. What we have learned from this experience that we have to face this problem of integrating these two logics, we can say, to integrate the big data and in the context of the current production processes. This is a difficult task. We need to combine these two processes. From one end, big data. The added value lies exactly in the information that is hidden in the data and in the proactive use of the data, namely the data-driven approach, the data-driven process. They are based on the input data that do not come from sources that are specific for statistical purposes. Yes, this is the last slide. This input data do not come from sources that are specific for statistical purpose. They are not homogeneous, they are not structured or semi-structured, and above all, they are not stable over time. On the other hand, we have the standard traditional processes that are output-oriented approach, since in the context of official statistics, the production all the processes are constructed with a view to obtain the statistical outputs. And the challenge in this project is to integrate these two logics according to a register-based approach. It is clear that in order to be able to combine these two types of processes, the best way, we think, it is to use, to invest in a multidisciplinary context. I mean, we experience in this laboratory a team composed by thematic expert, methodological expert, and IT expert. We are not used to work together like, for example, in Netherlands. It is very difficult in ISTAT create a connection about different departments. But we experimented that this is the only way to proceed. The different professional skills have created a synergy, and there were step-by-step advanced obtained thanks to this interaction between different experts. And before, all these kind of projects were conducted only by methodological experts. Here, the thematic expert is crucial. He guide and closely follow the integration of web data with business register data. Of course, in this sense, a good training is essential because the three kind of experts should have the experience of what of what is happening. And I think I can stop here. Yes.
Thank you very much, Marianne. Yes, you can also sit over here while we get the third presentation. Again, please note down your questions. I think we have had two good examples where statistical officers really go beyond their comfort zone to try to see if they can apply new kinds of techniques. And I think it's something that we can learn from and we can discuss in a little bit. But now we go to the third presentation, which is from our host. It's Bertrand.
Yeah, if I can find it, it will be wonderful. I suppose it's this one.
You find it?
Yeah.
That looks like it. Okay. So I give the word to Bertrand.
Yeah.
Where he will speak about the data innovation strategy of the Swiss Federal Statistical Office. Bertrand, 15 minutes.
15 minutes. Good afternoon, everybody. Before I start, I would like to express my thanks for inviting me for this session. It's really a great pleasure to be part of these 4 days. The last time that I attended to one of your meetings, it was, I think, 4 or 6 years ago in Washington, and I was very impressed about the quality of the presentation. I hope that this afternoon I will fit your expectation regarding the quality. You will see my presentation is really linked with the presentation of Diego, and I decided to divide my presentation in 4 parts. The first part will be really an overview, a big picture about what that means, big data for our office. The second part is the core part of my presentation. It's about really the data innovation strategy. After that, I will move to the pilot project. We have 5 pilot projects. We'll a little bit explain what we do in this context, and at the end I will emphasize a little bit the challenge that we are facing at FSO regarding the use of new data sources. Okay, first part, I will go through the points mentioned on the slide, input, throughput, output, and maybe the first important thing for me, it's a little bit a provocation. The FSO has been in the digital area for over 10 years. New data sources are simply the next step, but a major one. I think it's quite important to understand this sentence because 10 years ago, using administrative data was a little bit a challenge. It was new data sources. And in order to achieve this challenge, we published a strategy, a register strategy in 2007 with the focus to eliminate or reduce the administrative burden. And we are still facing challenges regarding the use of administrative data, regarding the quality of the data, regarding the use of statistical model. And 4 or 5 years ago, we had to integrate new data sources, big data. My first reaction was, what are you talking about? It was a little bit my first reaction. But we decided in November 2017, that means last year, to publish a data innovation strategy because we have to solve the problem. That means we have to integrate this data in our current production. If you are interested, we don't have time, I know we have 15 minutes. If you are interested, we have these 2 strategies are available online. You can download it, go to our homepage and download them. The first one is really the use of administrative data in the perspective of reduce administrative burden, and the second one, I will tell you a little bit more later about this strategy. Okay, now I move to the throughput, if you want, because it's not enough to have new data sources, to collect data from Twitter or from Google or from Facebook. It's not easy, but it's the technical thing. But we are really, we believe that we have to change different things in our office before we will be able to use this data. The first thing that we have to change is our statistical information system. We created between 2008 and 2010 a new statistical information system. The goal was to be able to integrate data from surveys and administrative data together. And now we are trying to define the new requirements in order to integrate new data sources in these statistical information system. This is the first thing. The second thing, this is the complementary analysis method. It's also very clear that we had to improve our statistical method if we want to use seriously new data sources. I will explain a little bit later what that means. Again, if you are interested, both documents are available online. You can download it. If you have any question, you can send me an email and I will try to answer your questions. The last part is not the focus of this conference, but it's important for me also to mention we invest a lot of time, we spend a lot of time and money trying to use social media to disseminate our data and web services. I really believe that the future for data delivery is based on web services also from the output point of view. Okay, this was a little bit the big picture, and now the data innovation strategy. I will try to go through these 4 points, okay? The first thing that we tried to answer was, what is data innovation? We defined data innovation as the application of complementary analytics methods. Okay, that means machine learning, deep learning, data science method, and so on to existing data or new data sources. We believe at BFS that we don't need to acquire new data in order to have data innovation. We have a really reliable asset with administrative data, register data, and survey data, and we can really realize a lot of innovation, if you want, if we use this data. Of course, we will acquire these new data sources, this new kind of data, if you want, but it's not the first priority for us. The priority is really the methods. Which kind of method do you need to use? We also define in our strategy 2 strategic goals, okay? The first one is to investigate the feasibility of the application of these methods for official statistics. And it seems really to be a major point because we have to prove that our results are accurate. Maybe are these new methods fit for market analysis, but if you have to try to explain why the GDP increase, for example, you need to be sure of your results. And the second objective strategic objective that we defined is, do we need to change something in the way we will in the future communicate our results if our production is based on algorithm? Okay. And we started 5 pilot projects. I will present these 5 pilot projects, and they have up to the end of 2019 time for achieving this goal. No, I can say that this way. Diego Kuhn had explained before the difference between primary data. You can find this definition. So we define very clearly for our people what is primary data. They are really data designed by FSO, okay? And the corresponding, and it's really important for me that you keep this in mind, the corresponding analytics paradigm is deductive reasoning. Please keep this in mind for 5 minutes. The key idea is to say, idea first, you start from a theory, okay? After that, we defined the secondary data, and secondary data are all data that have been collected and designed for other reasons, okay? And the corresponding paradigm, is the inductive reasoning, okay? Please keep this in mind. And it was not enough. and you will see now the link with registers. Because we have, it was necessary to define two categories below this secondary data. The first one is the identifiable data, and the second one is non-identifiable data. And for us, it's quite important to understand that identifiable data can be associated with a single unit at a given place and time. That means a person, an enterprise, a building, a dwelling, and so on. Okay, and register data are such kind of data. They are very useful because we can really check, control the representativity of our data. And the second type of data, if you want, this is the non-identifiable data. Social media, Twitter, Facebook, such kind of things, Google Trends, Twitter feeds. And what we try to address with this distinction is really the statistical inference. So are these data really, can we ensure the representativity of our results if we use this kind of data? And that's a little bit, in my eyes, the hard part of the game. If you want to use new data sources or big data, it's not programming something for to acquire data from the internet. It's important, it's not easy, but the hard part of the game is really this part, in my eyes. Okay, the other thing that you can find in our strategy is the inductive and deductive reasoning cycle. You know you can conduct research with both approach, and at FSO we strong believe that we have to combine both approaches, and we'll try to explain why. This is the classical ones. Since decades, statisticians are working with this approach, deductive approach. That means you start from a theory, for example, a theory that explains the employment in a country, for example. After that, you have statisticians, they make hypotheses, they identify variables, they conduct a survey, they have a data set, they apply well-known methods to the data set. If the results are accurate, we make the assumption that we measure the theory. Okay, nothing new. Now, the data science approach, the inductive approach, the point where you start is the data. You use algorithm to identify patterns. After that, you try to find the link with the literacy. If you're happy with your result, it's okay. Maybe you will discover a new theory or not. If you're not happy, you can start again with a new data set or a new algorithm. And it's not sufficient for the official statistics. And what we are trying to do is to combine both approach, classical approach and the data science approach, if you want. Voila, this is more or less what you can find if you download our strategy. Maybe that can be very useful for your office, I don't know. For us, as I mentioned before, administrative data, register data, survey data are really reliable asset, and we want to try to use this data in the priority one. And maybe if we need to acquire other data, satellite imagery, such kinds of thing, we will do it, of course, but that's not the priority one. We want, in the priority one, we would like to acquire some experiences regarding the methods, the statistical method that we want to use or we will use in the future. Pilot project, we started 5 pilot projects. The first one is had something to do with business register. The project leader is, I don't know where, Claude Mackey, my division, is in charge to evaluate if we can automate the coding of economic activities of enterprises using machine learning methods. We will see the results, I don't know, but that's the first project. The second project is a little bit the same approach. We are trying to automate the visual interpretation of aerial images using deep learning algorithm. The key idea is to detect and classify changes between two different images. The third project is a business survey. We are trying to use small area estimation method for job statistics, as the project evaluates the potential of this method for the job statistic. That means the project aims is to produce reliable estimates of the total number of jobs and FTEs for cantons, major towns, and NOGA levels that were not anticipated in the sample plan. I think it's a very interesting project for us, and I hope we will have positive results. The number 4, I don't spend a lot of time to explain this. It's a little bit special, and nothing to do with business register. And the last one is also the use of machine learning algorithm in order to accelerate the plausibility check for administrative data. Okay. Yeah. If you are interested, we publish, you can go to our homepage. You can find these sheet, FSO's experimental statistic, and also a page with our pilot project. We will find a lot of information regarding the pilot projects, and if you are interested, you can contact us, and we will give you some information. Voila, last slide. And we have some challenges to solve at FSO. The first one is the data quality frameworks. I mentioned it. We need to extend, complement our statistical method. This is the first thing. The second thing, we are trying to identify the requirements for the new skill for our staff. I'm not speaking about hard skills, also soft skills, and we are trying to do that. The third point is to investigate our legal issue regarding the access to data stored by cross-border enterprises, like Google, like Facebook, like Twitter, and so on. What is the impact of our production? And the last thing is that we are trying to explain to academics, to the member of Swiss statistical system, what we are doing currently. The key idea is that they have to understand what you are trying to do. Voila. I'm finished.
Excellent. Now we're going to do this as well. You're going to Bertrand.
Sorry?
You can sit here. So we keep the panel together, and I go over there.
Okay.
We change. So we have a few minutes left. Just a few minutes left. So the way I want to do it is we take one round of questions, and then we give each of the panelists 2 minutes to answer. And I'm not expecting you would answer all of the questions. You just pick those which you like. So we heard a lot of things, and I'm not going to repeat everything. I'm just picking up a few of the things that that struck me in the presentations. I think what Steen showed is there was also in this farm, because I heard about it also, that the Statistics Denmark is collecting farming data through like harvest machines. So this is kind of the Internet of Things, that the harvest machine has sensors in it, and the information is immediately sent to Statistics Denmark so that they would know what the harvest is doing. I think Monica's presentations are very interesting. It made me think about also this laboratory of innovation. One part of this data revolution is about network of innovation networks, and I think this is part of it. I think there are quite a few innovation labs out there, and I think it's good. I think it's good if they can interact. And then I think very, very shortly, Bertrand, yes, I think you very analytically showed the new paradigm about innovation. I think it really fitted well with what was told by Diego in the keynote. So for me, I will start off just with giving you some ideas to answer on questions. One what I'm particularly interested in is collaboration. So how do you see that your statistical office or the office in general needs to collaborate either with other statistical offices in the community or with private sector or with other institutes inside of the country. So what are your ideas in moving things forward, how you would see that? So I leave it at that, and then I will ask from the audience who would like to pose a question. I see from Finland, please. You can either ask the question to all three of them or to somebody in particular if you like.
Okay, thank you, Roland. My question arose when Italy had the presentation, but it really concerns all of you. Italy mentioned that big data needs big or requires big resources. And you mentioned the multidisciplinary approach, which is not for free in your institute. You have to put some effort in order to make it work. Switzerland mentioned the evaluation of new skills required for this new paradigm. So I'm wondering, how is this at the moment, for the time being, reflected in your recruitment policy? Do you already have enough data scientists in-house in order to retrain them, or are you recruiting more? I remember somebody mentioning earlier, yesterday, that there was a budget for new tasks, but there was nobody to take the task. So how is the skills requirement reflected in your institutes? This is my question.
Thank you. Another question? Oh, I see. Rico, yes, one more.
Yeah, I got a question for Bertrand. Maybe he can tell me something more about Pilot Project 3, the business survey. What kind of techniques and what kind of sources would you like to consult to achieve these small area estimations for job statistics?
Okay. One more, otherwise I will go to the panel. I'll go to the panel. I'll start with Monica, then Steen, then Bertrand. Please, Monica.
Thanks for your questions. Well, I have no positive answer for you. I mean, our policy for equipment it's not so well. It's not foreseen to assume to take some of this expert that it is really needed for this project. I mean, no methodological expert or some kind of new stuff are foreseen now in ISTAT, even if in this period, in this time, there are some, how can I say, I don't know the name in English, but it's in this period also for IT staff is not a good period. I mean, we are going towards the privatization of the IT department, and perhaps there will be only short collaboration with some experts from the outside, but nothing more. But we are lucky because now in this moment in ISTAT we have these skills, and I cannot speak for the future, of course. As regards the collaboration with private sector and with universities or this kind of research centers, this is in ISTAT, this is the strategy for all this period, also with this laboratory that is open to private sector, to researchers, to universities, and it is sufficient that you respond to a call and you present a project, and you can go to our laboratory, and with a collaboration with ISTAT experts, you can start your project. And so this.
Thank you, Monica. Steve, please.
Yes, about collaboration, we will collaborate with who will talk to us, we will do that. Of course, the Danish Business Authority, who is very aggressive on this and also responsible for the burden for companies, they are very active and pushing us. And when we have these solutions also with private distributors, we are also thinking of, can we do something with the tax authority? Can we also share some information together with them so it's easier for us to get access? So we always talk about this. And so we have different committees in Statistics Denmark.